All right, aloha everyone. Welcome back. Big aloha to the entire MTG community. Number 4 is going to be the reserve list, the controversial reserve list. We're not here to talk about whether there should be a reserve list or not, but how can you use the reserve list to your advantage, whether you're a player, collector, or investor. So stay tuned.
Vintage Magic. Game, collect, invest. For more information about our consulting and professional services, visit vintagemagic.com.
We're with Snoop Dogg. What's up?
This is Phil Robbins talking about the reserve list. Okay, so now how do we use the reserve list to our advantage?
What the hell are you wearing my hat, man?
You put it on my head.
Oh,
you said this was. You said this was going to get people's attention.
You like the way I smell. That's why.
This is disgusting.
You smell it. You gotta smell it.
Why is it so sweaty?
Just smell it. I put some cologne for you.
I'm not going to smell. That's
all right.
Sweaty.
Just throw it away.
Anyways.
Reserve list.
Reserve list. Hey. Take it easy.
Calm down. Take it easy. Would you calm down?
You guys gotta relax.
That's what makes YouTube videos funny.
It's so controversial.
It's controversial.
We
gonna line up here because this is a serious topic. Okay, this is a serious channel. We have serious topics in this. This is a job. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a job.
He's on the clock right now.
All right.
He's an investor.
All right. Talk about the reserve list.
Okay, let's talk about
but you did say we're not going to talk about why we have the reserve list.
Oh, I think you did a good job with your other videos with Steve Menendin
and Brian Weissman.
They were great videos if people want to debate whether there should be a reserve list or not and what the effect is if they abolish it. We're here to discuss and assume that the reserve list will still be in place. We have to go with assumptions. And so we're going to assume that the reserve list is in place. And so what is the reserve list? WotC has agreed not to print certain cards, okay, with the same name. Okay, and now there was a little bit of controversy with the foils and all that stuff. But moving forward, there are certain cards on this list that will never be printed again. That's basically what the reserve list is. Now, who does this actually screw over? Who does it screw over? It screws over the players, right? And look, I play Magic the Gathering. I love Magic. I'm a huge collector of it, but I like to play Magic the Gathering. And I know people who love to play the game. And they want to use these cards. So understanding the characteristics of the reserve list is really more towards the investor. If you're going to invest in a card and want to maintain value, you want to keep the print run and the scarcity up, which was our first characteristic, right? So if they're reprinting this stuff to oblivion, value goes to 0 because it's not scarce, right? Even though it's playable. But number 2, you can still have strong playability. But if they're reprinting it to a million, then your scarcity goes down. Now, as an investor, that's bad for you. That's pretty common sense. But if it's on the reserve list, well, okay, now there's a characteristic that can start compounding value for you. Okay, All Power 9 is on the reserve list, right? They're never going to reprint that. What's actually mainly on the reserve list? A lot of the stuff from Alpha,
right?
What is it? Antiquities, Arabian Nights, maybe some cards from.
You got Lion's Eye, Diamond, stuff like that.
Right, but it stops at a certain point, and actually they're not adding any more cards to the reserve list. That's the problem. Okay, the new stuff coming out, we don't know what the print run is. They say it's limited edition. Right? Remember from the vault, limited edition, but we don't know what the print run numbers are. Some people speculate. But the bottom line is, as an investor, if you're going to take that characteristic, the reserve list, you got to start thinking, well, I can only start collecting from what year to what year? Maybe 93 to 1999, right? And that's just a factor, a characteristic that will keep demand and value in this card, in these cards that you're investing in. So as a collector, and this is kind of an important point, when I got back into it in 2016, it was a shock to me. When I hear people like Daniel and Rudy, hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars for these cards, right? I guess it wasn't, 2016 was starting to ramp up. But as a collector, that concerned me because now I got to get these cards quick. And so what cards are going to increase in value fast? Obviously the characteristic of the reserve list. So as a collector, not necessarily investor, if you wanted to collect your sets, you had to go for AVU. You had to understand that these investors are coming in to swoop, these evil investors, right, Dan? these evil investors are coming in, taking our cards for our collection.
Side note, why do people call us evil investors?
Well, because whether you're a player, you want to play with the cards. Why are you taking it out of the inventory?
Oh.
Right? Now, you can blame WotC for not reprinting it or having the reserve list, right? Okay, I get that. Collectors hate you because we want to complete our sets without paying an arm and a leg, right? But I think what is great about some people, and some people are objective.
You hate the monopoly guy.
I have nothing against an investor.
What?
No, I don't. Look, it's a free country. It's called capitalism, right? You want to go out there and you want to wipe out and buy out a card. Remember the buyouts?
Yeah.
Go at it. But you got to be smart on these characteristics, and you have to get in and know and have a game plan. And that's kind of what I wanted to share with the people. Even now, today, people are asking, the new generation, mid-20s, coming into the game, they love the game, but they're asking, what should I invest in? Sealed product? Should I invest in this Throne of Eldraine? $450 collector booster with the full art stuff? Ask yourself, how does it meet the characteristics? Is it on the reserve list? How does that print run look? Is it playable? Is it iconic? Now, I'll give you this. It could be nostalgic. And that nostalgic characteristic can grow over time. Because as our generation passes, these new cards will become like, hey, I remember playing with that Throne of Eldraine card.
I'm really excited to hear about the nostalgic one, for sure.
So let's make that the next video.
All right, so we have one more follow-up question on that. This is good. Okay, so are you telling people that when they're buying cards, are all reserve list cards investable?
Are all reserve list cards investable?
Yeah, like there's a guy who bought that Gorthelian Silix from Antiquities. Remember how Rudy made a video about that?
There's reserve list cards that are what, $1?
Yeah.
Okay, is that investable?
So my question is, you say reserve list is focused on investors. So talk about it as an investor point of view.
I'm saying investors can look at...
Is it really investable though? Is there going to be that demand? Because I think what I'm trying to get at here is that Gorthelian Silix, for example.
Is that from the Dark?
No, it's from Antiquities.
Okay.
And it's a reserve list card. But I noticed something about all these characteristics.
Right.
When it's only one characteristic that is weak, especially, I think the reserve list is probably, I think reserve list actually is the weakest. And the reason why I say so is because look at Gorthelian Silix or any of those Mirage, reserve list cards or anything, right? Think about this. Think about it very carefully. If you buy 1,000 of those or whatever, 100 of those, whatever, right? Yeah. It may move a little bit, but the ability to actually demand to buy it, the nostalgia, the playability, it's not there, right?
It's not there.
Exactly. So the playability, the nostalgia, the scarcity, like alpha, is more valuable than that Gorthelian Silix. Because the thing is, the reserve list, it's so funny. Everybody barks about the evil investor, but what I've realized is that the reserve list cards actually have the least amount of growth for as the larger range, meaning that the small dogs, right, the penny stocks, right. Yeah. Now I do agree, like the big cards, the dual lands, all that kind of stuff, the Power 9, those will always have a reserve list. It holds the value of them really strong. But I'm talking about all the speculators. For those people out there thinking they have 1,000 Mirage reserve list cards or whatever you want to pick, right? That one, the Homelands card, Wall of Kelp.
Okay, that's a good one.
Why in the world would Wall of Kelp ever go up again? Is it nostalgic? No. Is it playable? No. Is it scarce? Hell no.
Okay.
Right? So iconic? No.
So as an investor, you're saying these things.
Yes.
And that's great, right? Because you looked at the other factors and you're balancing your risk equation. And you're saying, yeah, that's not investable, even though it's on the reserve list. But always remember, in textbook ideal situation, this is time dependent. Meaning they could come out with a Wall of Kelp, format, or like Wall of Kelp blows up, right? And it's like nostalgic. I don't know. You can never say never, right? But you can make intelligent choices in your investment options.
Got it.
By using these characteristics. But you can never say never. But in this point in time, you can make a smart decision. And when you're an investor, and even when you're a collector, because then you can predict what these evil investors are going to hoard or buy out. Yeah, I say evil. I'm just joking around, but I'm just saying players, they don't like the reserve. I mean, dual lands is a perfect example. It's so controversial, right? It's because like dual land, right? It comes in untapped. And then look at the price and the demand, the playability, a certain degree of iconic characteristic to that card, right? I mean, that's why that card is like $450 for an underground seed.
Because of the reserve list.
It's all of it. Reserve list, right? And then when you talk about scarcity, the alpha version, what does an underground C alpha BGS9 go for? So you get this, we're starting to put the pieces together and we're starting to understand, okay, you have players, you have collectors, and you have investors. And you got to make smart decisions based on those characteristics.
All right, with that, the final characteristic is nostalgia. Yeah. We're going to love this one.
The future of MTG.
The future of MTG. All right, guys, thanks again for watching.
Hey everyone, it's me, Daniel with VintageMagic.com. I want to share with you more about how we handle consignments. So to begin the consignment process, we actually need to start with the consultation service. In this consultation, I will determine what you're looking to do. And generally, consigners usually tell me, hey Dan, I'm looking to sell my items and maximize the value of their collection. After we determine through the consultation, I usually like to do an appraisal process. And an appraisal process in terms of a consignment is more fitted towards authenticity and valuation for current market values. From there, after a contract is crafted and signed, we will then receive the items from you. The reason why our consignment process is very thorough is we also identify cards that could be graded so then they can maximize higher dollar values. So the payment process is very simple. Once we have sold your items, you'll get an updated ledger and we will process payment for whatever form of payment you need. As a consigner, you're gonna experience our white glove service. What that means is I'm gonna personally handle your collectibles from beginning to end. And rest assured, the client that purchases your collectibles will also receive the same white glove service. It's a signature service that I really pride myself on in working closely with my clients.
Vintage Magic. Game, collect, invest. For more information about our consulting and professional services, visit vintagemagic.com.